You have been readable your entire life. People have known how to move you, how to guilt you, how to flatter you into compliance and anger you into mistakes. The people who shaped your world, your boss, your father, the woman who left, the friend who used you, none of them were smarter than you. They were just more fluent in the language you never learned, the language of the human animal, the grammar of power, fear, desire, and ego. And because you didn't study it, because someone told you it was dark, manipulative, immoral to understand how people actually work, you showed up to every room in your life half naked, exposed, operating on assumptions that were never tested, instincts that were never sharpened, a psychology that was never forged. You thought the good man wins by being good. You thought transparency was strength. You thought your intentions protected you. That is the lie. The men who built empires, the ones who got wealthy, untouchable, free, they did not win by being more innocent than you. They won by being less surprised. They studied the shadow. They mapped the terrain of the human psyche before they walked into it. And they moved through the world with a quiet, terrible clarity that most people will never possess. Today, that changes. Here is what you were taught. Psychology is something you use to heal, to understand yourself, to process your childhood and communicate better with your partner. Soft, clinical, safe. That is a partial truth, handed to you as the whole truth. For thousands of years before Freud had an office in Vienna, before self-help was an industry, before therapy was normalized, kings, generals, merchants, and monks studied the human mind as a weapon and a map, not to harm people indiscriminately, but to navigate reality as it actually is, not as they wished it to be. Sun Tzu did not write The Art of War to help you feel seen in conflict. He wrote it because he understood something modern culture refuses to accept. The world is a field of competing psychologies. Every room you walk into is a battlefield of perception, motivation, desire, and fear. And the man who understands that field moves freely through it. The man who does not gets moved by it. Machiavelli did not write The Prince as a villain's handbook. He wrote it as an honest description of power, stripped of the romantic lies that keep the naive weak and the idealistic poor. He saw what people actually do when resources are scarce, when status is threatened, when survival feels close. And he wrote it down without flinching. This is not manipulation. This is literacy. The difference between the man who uses dark psychology to destroy and the man who uses it to elevate is intention and discipline. But neither of them is ignorant. You can't afford to be ignorant anymore. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the part of the human psyche that contains everything we have been trained to deny, suppress, and pretend doesn't exist. Not just in ourselves, in everyone. The rage beneath the smile, the envy beneath the congratulations, the fear beneath the aggression, the hunger for power beneath the language of service. Most men are terrified of the shadow. They spend their entire lives managing appearances, building a persona so polished, so acceptable, so safe, that they lose contact with the actual forces driving every human interaction around them. The man who has mapped his own shadow, who has looked into the pit of his own envy, his own cruelty, his own need for domination or escape, that man is no longer blindsided by it in others. He sees the same darkness moving beneath the surface of every conversation. He reads the room not through what people say, but through what they cannot stop revealing. That is the first weapon, shadow literacy. You are not trying to become dark. You are trying to stop being blind to what is already there. When your business partner speaks generously about your project in front of others but subtly undermines it in private, that is the shadow at work. When the most moralistic person in the room turns out to be the most destructive, that is the shadow at work. When someone offers help that always costs you something, that is the shadow at work. Map your own first, then you will see it everywhere. Human beings are not primarily rational creatures. They are creatures of will, desire, and narrative. Every person you meet is living inside a story about who they are, what they deserve, and what threatens them. That story is the lever. Robert Cialdini spent decades documenting the mechanisms of influence: reciprocity, scarcity, authority, social proof, commitment, liking. His work is used by every major corporation. The men who became untouchable learned this early. They stopped trying to win arguments. They started designing the architecture of persuasion, understanding what each person needed to feel before they could hear anything. This is not manipulation. Manipulation is covert force. This is translation, learning to speak in the language of human need rather than demanding everyone else learn yours. Here is where wealth and psychological power intersect in a way no one talks about plainly. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius commanding an empire from the front lines, Epictetus enslaved and unbroken, Seneca navigating the most corrupt court in history, all arrived at the same principle through different crucibles. The man who cannot be destabilized emotionally cannot be controlled. Most men leak psychological energy like a cracked vessel. Anger at the wrong moment, fear visible in the body, ego activated by minor provocations. These are not character flaws, they are handles, and every person in your environment, consciously or not, learns where your handles are and reaches for them when they need leverage. The iron interior is not coldness. It is not the suppression of emotion. It is the practice Marcus Aurelius described in his private journals, training the mind to create space between stimulus and response, to observe the impulse without becoming it. When you have that, when you can sit in a high-stakes negotiation, absorb an insult, receive a threat, face a loss, and your face reveals nothing that you have not chosen to reveal, you have achieved something that no credential, no car, no title can replicate. You have become genuinely hard to move. And people can feel it. They do not know what to call it. They call it confidence, presence, gravitas. What it actually is a psychology that has been tempered in fire. In the Taoist tradition, the highest form of mastery was called Wu Wei, effortless action. Not laziness, not passivity. The capacity to move with the natural current of events rather than against them. To understand the room so completely that you never had to force anything. The Tao Te Ching describes the master as one who achieves results without leaving a mark of effort. Water that carves canyons not through force, but through persistence and knowledge of the path. Modern neuroscience is only now catching up to what the Taoists and Zen masters documented centuries ago. Research on social cognition shows that the highest performers in every domain are distinguished not by intelligence alone, but by the ability to accurately model what others are thinking, feeling, and wanting, separate from their own internal state. The samurai called it Zanshin, remaining mind, the state of full, relaxed awareness that does not fixate on a single point, but holds the entire field. The practitioner who achieves Zanshin does not react. He already knows. When you train your perception, when you study faces, language patterns, microexpressions, the gap between what someone says and what their body does, you develop an intelligence that cannot be faked, cannot be taken, and compounds over a lifetime. This is the identity shift, not a tactic, not a habit, who you are. Every technique in dark psychology, every map of the shadow, every persuasion framework, they are hollow without this. Because the man who applies psychological tools from a place of anxiety, scarcity, or hunger for approval is still being moved. He has just acquired more sophisticated weapons without the interior to wield them. The untouchable man is not the man who has defeated everyone. He is the man who no longer needs to. He has disengaged from the social scoreboard that kept him exhausted. He is not playing the status game in the room. He is the one who set the rules of the game before he walked in. Epictetus, who was enslaved, who owned nothing but his own mind, wrote that freedom is the only real wealth. That a man who is mastered by opinion, by approval, by fear of loss, is enslaved regardless of what he owns. And a man who has freed his mind from those chains is free regardless of his circumstances. You are not trying to accumulate power over others. You are trying to stop surrendering power you were never meant to give away. You are not trying to change what you do. You are deciding who you are. There is a version of you on the other side of this work, and he is not louder or harder or colder. He is still. He walks into rooms without needing them to go a certain way. He listens more than he speaks, and when he speaks, the room changes. He sees people clearly, not with cynicism, but with precision, and that clarity makes him kind where kindness is real, and unmoved where movement would cost him. He has no enemies worth fearing because he left nothing exposed worth attacking. He does not chase money, money follows clarity, and he has become clear. he is not performing strength. He has become it. That man is not a fantasy. He is the result of deliberate, honest, unflinching work on the one territory that matters, the interior. Marcus Aurelius kept a skull on his desk, not for decoration, as a reminder that the time given to him was finite, precise, and moving whether he moved with it or not. The Stoics called it memento mori, remember that you will die, not as a source of dread, as a sharpener, as a reason to stop postponing the man you were designed to become. Every day you remain readable, movable, reactive, is a day that did not belong to you, and you do not have infinite days. The work starts now, not when you feel ready, not when life settles down, now. What was shared today, the shadow map, the iron interior, the untouchable identity, this is the public layer, the framework. The deeper work, the specific practices, the psychological frameworks that the men who actually made it used privately, the unfiltered material this platform does not broadcast, that lives behind the join button. Most people will watch this, feel something shift, and return to their lives unchanged. That is the pattern. The majority always does. Most won't, that's the point. If you are not subscribed, do it now. Not as a favor to this channel, as a signal to yourself that you are the kind of man who acts on what he learns.